Something has just happened inside Buckingham Palace that could rewrite Britain's history books. For the first time in living memory, King Charles has pushed back, not with words, not with ceremony, but with action. A quiet order from the Crown, discreetly sent to Downing Street, has set off what one insider called the most dangerous game of constitutional chess in 300 years. The message was short, just one sentence long. The monarchy will not be humiliated by its own government. That single line has thrown Westminster into total chaos. Before we dive into the footage, can I ask you for a quick favour? If you're enjoying this content, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Believe it or not, over 98% of viewers watch without subscribing. It's completely free for you, but it means the world to us and helps the channel grow. So, did you click it? Awesome, thank you. Now let's get into the video. It began 2 nights ago. At precisely 7:42 p.m, a convoy of unmarked cars slipped through the back gates of Clarence House. No press, no photographers, no official record. Inside were 3 of the most powerful men in the United Kingdom, the Archbishop of Canterbury, the Lord Chief Justice, and the head of MI5. What brought them there wasn't ceremony, it was crisis. Leaked minutes from that meeting, obtained by Sky News, show that the King demanded advice on what he could legally do if a Prime Minister overstepped constitutional bounds. The question alone was historic, the monarchy asking how to defend itself from its own government. When word of the meeting reached number 10, Keir Starmer's team reportedly panicked. One aide, speaking anonymously to The Guardian, said it felt like the walls were closing in. Starmer, already wounded by his confrontation with the King just days earlier, was suddenly facing something far worse: royal retaliation. For centuries, the Crown has survived by silence. But this time, silence had become strategy. Charles didn't need to speak, he needed to move. And that move came swiftly. The next morning, Buckingham Palace released a rare statement, just 37 words long. It praised the enduring importance of constitutional balance and mutual respect between institutions. Harmless at first glance, until experts noticed its timing, it dropped exactly 3 minutes before the Prime Minister's scheduled press briefing. A deliberate strike, subtle but unmistakable. By the time Starmer took the podium, every journalist in the room had seen it. Every camera angle was primed for one question. Prime Minister, do you still have the King's confidence? Witnesses say his face turned pale. His prepared remarks fell apart. He muttered something about constitutional theatrics before storming off without taking questions. The clip exploded online within minutes. On TikTok alone, it hit 5 million views before noon. Hashtags like #RoyalRevenge and #KingStrikesBack surged across platforms. Memes flooded timelines. Charles as a chess master, Starmer as a pawn. The narrative was written before Labour's communications team could even react. The King wasn't passive anymore. He was playing to win. Inside Parliament, the tremors became a landslide. Conservative MPs, once cautious about defending the monarchy too openly, smelled blood in the water. Former Prime Minister Rishi Sunak took to the House floor, declaring, "Our constitutional monarchy is not a museum piece. It is the soul of Britain." The chamber erupted. Starmer's face, one witness said, looked like stone. Even some Labour backbenchers began clapping. It was the ultimate humiliation. His own party fractured in front of live cameras. Within hours, reports surfaced of resignations brewing inside Labour HQ. The Education Secretary, Gillian Daniels, tendered her resignation, citing irreconcilable differences with the Prime Minister's tone toward the Crown. Her letter, leaked to ITV, said simply, "Respect is not optional. It's foundational." By sunset, 3 more ministers followed. The dominoes had begun to fall. Then came the twist no one saw coming. A classified memo reportedly written by a senior civil servant was leaked to the Times. Its contents were devastating. It outlined secret discussions between Downing Street and senior EU diplomats about accelerating Britain's transition toward a more Republican framework of governance. Translation: Starmer's team had quietly explored reducing the monarchy's powers without public consent. The reaction was nuclear. The Daily Mail's headline screamed, "Republic plot in number 10." Within an hour, protesters were outside Parliament, waving Union Jacks and chanting, "Hands off our king!" At that moment, something in the nation shifted. The monarchy wasn't just a symbol, it became a rallying cry. From London to Leeds, from Belfast to Birmingham, crowds gathered with homemade signs reading "Defend the Crown" and "Starmer out." Social media turned into a battleground. Labour loyalists pleaded for calm. Royalists called for resignation. Even comedian Russell Howard posted, "I joked about the royals for years, but even I'm saying this is madness." Meanwhile, King Charles remained silent, the picture of composure. Cameras caught him greeting Ukrainian veterans at Windsor, smiling, unbothered. Not a single mention of politics. But that restraint only deepened his power. Every image of calm dignity contrasted sharply with Starmer's escalating fury. Political strategist Amelia Green of Oxford University summed it up perfectly. Charles doesn't need to fight. The country is fighting for him. But the real bombshell came from an unexpected place. The BBC. In a late-night broadcast, veteran journalist Hugh Edwards revealed that an anonymous cabinet member had reached out to the palace directly, offering assurances of loyalty to the crown over the Prime Minister. In plain English, the government was beginning to side with the king. This wasn't just a scandal anymore, it was a constitutional emergency. By dawn, Westminster was in open rebellion. A secret letter signed by 42 Labour MPs demanded Starmer call an emergency party vote. One line stood out: "The people elected a leader, not a monarch slayer." The phrase caught fire online, spawning thousands of memes, merchandise, and even a viral TikTok remix. Polls released that same day showed Labour's approval plunging again, now below 25%. Reform UK, riding the wave of patriotic sentiment, soared past 27%, their highest numbers ever recorded. For the first time, Nigel Farage wasn't a fringe voice. He was a frontrunner. And Farage knew it. Standing before a sea of Union flags in Manchester, he declared, "While they tear down our traditions, we'll rebuild our pride." The crowd roared. Political analysts compared his tone to Churchill, his confidence to Thatcher, his opportunity to destiny. Across the pond, Fox News dubbed him the Lion of Britain. Even CNN ran the headline, "The royal crisis that could crown Farage." But inside number 10, the mood was apocalyptic. Sources described shouting matches echoing through the corridors. Angela Rayner, once Starmer's ally, was seen leaving the building in tears. Moments later, reports surfaced that she'd met privately with senior MPs to discuss a pathway to leadership transition. The knives were out, the coup had begun. That afternoon, as the Prime Minister returned from a tense session with his advisers, an unmarked envelope was waiting on his desk. The royal seal glistened in red wax. Inside was a letter, brief, formal and devastating. His Majesty requests the immediate presence of the Prime Minister at Buckingham Palace. No explanation, no warning. Starmer's face reportedly drained of colour. He whispered to his aide, "This is it." Cameras followed his motorcade as it sped toward the palace. London held its breath. What happened inside that room remains secret. No cameras, no recordings, just whispers from sources close to both sides. One version claims Charles told Starmer, "You've endangered the nation's unity." That cannot stand. Another insists the king said nothing at all, letting silence do the damage. But what's certain is this: 40 minutes later, the Prime Minister emerged visibly shaken. He didn't wave. He didn't speak. He just stared ahead as the press screamed questions. That image, pale, rigid, defeated, was replayed millions of times across global news networks. It was the picture of a man who had lost not only the country's confidence, but its crown's respect. Within hours, Downing Street released a terse statement claiming the meeting was productive. But insiders tell a different story. According to one aide, the king made it clear he expected a public apology or resignation. The choice, he said, was up to the Prime Minister. It was the most direct royal intervention since the abdication crisis of 1936. And just like then, the stakes were existential. The fallout was instant. Financial markets wobbled. The pound dipped 2% overnight. Foreign investors whispered of instability. Meanwhile, headlines from around the world piled in. King versus Premier, read Le Monde. Britain's crown crisis, warned the New York Times. Even the Kremlin issued a mocking statement, calling it a fine example of Western democracy at work. Britain, the land of calm governance, looked like a monarchy on the brink, but the story wasn't done. Late that night, a new leak surfaced, a private recording from inside a Labour strategy call. The voice was unmistakably Starmer's. He could be heard saying, if the monarchy wants a fight, it will get one. Those 9 words detonated like dynamite. The recording aired on Channel 4 within minutes, triggering outrage across the political spectrum. Within half an hour, #StarmerResign was trending #1 globally. That was the moment his allies gave up. Chancellor Rachel Reeves reportedly told colleagues, he's finished. By sunrise, senior Labour officials were drafting a letter to the King expressing regret for recent tensions and affirming unwavering loyalty to the Crown. The implication was clear. Starmer was now leading in name only. The machine had turned against him. Meanwhile, Charles continued his silent campaign of calm. He was photographed visiting a community garden in Cornwall, smiling gently, shaking hands with children, unbothered by the political firestorm. The headlines told the story for him. Dignity amid disorder. The King who said nothing and won everything. His approval rating hit 84%, the highest for any monarch since the Queen's Diamond Jubilee. Starmer's, by contrast, fell to 19%. One commentator called it the political equivalent of a royal execution. And yet, amid the wreckage, rumours began swirling of something even more shocking. According to palace insiders, senior courtiers have discussed invoking the King's Consent Clause, an ancient legal tool that allows the monarch to withhold approval from legislation that undermines the monarchy. It hasn't been used in over a century, but if the King invoked it now, he could effectively block key parts of the Labour agenda. Could Charles really strike back in such open defiance, or would that risk everything he's fought to preserve? Across the Commonwealth, leaders are watching closely. In Canada, Prime Minister Trudeau warned that constitutional stability must never be taken for granted. In Australia, opposition leader Peter Dutton declared his support for the British Crown, calling Starmer's remarks a disgrace to heritage. Even in Washington, President Biden reportedly expressed concern about the tone of UK leadership. Britain's crisis had gone global. Now Westminster stands on a knife's edge. Half the cabinet wants Starmer gone. The other half fears removing him would look like surrender to the palace. Civil servants whisper of contingency plans. The opposition prepares for a snap election. The King, calm as ever, continues his royal duties, knowing full well that each passing day tightens the noose around his adversary. And the people, they're divided like never before. Some chant for monarchy reform, others demand the Prime Minister's head. Britain's streets have become stages of history where ancient symbols clash with modern anger. Protesters shout beneath banners reading, "For King and Country," while others hold placards saying, "Democracy, not dynasty." The nation's identity itself is under siege. So now the question remains, what happens next? Does the King take the final step and force his Prime Minister out? Does Starmer gamble everything on defiance? Or does this centuries-old system finally crack under its own contradictions? Whatever comes, one thing is certain. Britain will never be the same again. So what do you think? Has King Charles already won the silent war, or is Starmer planning his counterstrike behind closed doors? And could Nigel Farage, of all people, emerge as the unexpected victor in this royal showdown? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you want to see how this political earthquake ends, hit that subscribe button right now, because the next chapter isn't just history in the making, it's history breaking.